Welcome back. We're doing 1 hour freezer meals again. I am so ready for this. I like to do freezer meals in batches based on the types of items, so that way I am most efficient. So today what we're doing is we are using a lot of ground meats. We are going to be making meatballs and meatloaves, and I've already got the oven preheating because I do want to cook the meatballs, but the meatloaves I'm going to freeze as freezer meals, and we're going to keep them raw, and then we will cook them on the day that we plan to cook. So what I have here is 2 pounds of ground chicken, 2 pounds of ground beef, and then I have 4 pounds of not ground, this is pork. So I have my blender out. If you did not know that, you can grind your own meat to make ground meat, and it becomes way cheaper sometimes than having someone else grind it for you. So I am going to start by getting the meat ground. I'm like on my tippy toes. That way we can have everything ready for us. Welcome back. My name is Carrie. Thanks so much for being here. Let's get 2 pounds of this ground at a time. Okay, I think we're about there. We don't want to overmix because that'll make the meat become really tough. So let's get this in. Oh, I already have something in the bowl. So let's get this into our bowl. Okay. Just me trying to avoid touching it right now. I will be touching it, of course. Next 2. Okay, see how quick and easy this is? Oh goodness, so much liquid. So this pork is actually pork that I got on sale, and I cut it off the bone myself. So it ended up being super cheap. I don't want all the liquid. Round 2. And that was about 30 seconds. There's a timer on the front of my blender, so that's super convenient. Okay, I'm going to set this over to the side. We're going to get the mixer out because we are going to make the meatballs in the mixer. So we've got all of our ground pork here ready. And I'm just going to make 2 pounds of meatballs. So I want to get a pound of ground beef and a pound of pork, which is something I've never done before. So we're gonna see how this goes. All right, 1 pound of pork going in. Oh, I set it down for a second and made a mess. And then I'm going to eyeball about half of this meat here, and that'll be our pound. Now for our meatballs, I'm going to add an egg, some panko, maybe a little touch of water if we need to. We might not though because of the extra liquid that was in the meat. And then a few spices. I'm going to use salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I'm leaving out the Italian seasonings because I don't know how many of these will end up being Italian flavored and how many won't. And the reason that I'm making meatballs from scratch, not that you couldn't for any reason, but is because if you want to buy meatballs in the store, they all have dang Parmesan in them. And Parmesan does not agree with my stomach. It took me a while to figure out that that's why I was having issues with meatballs from the store. So we are making our own meatballs, and I'm just going to get them baked up and frozen, and that's going to work really well. So I'm going to get this mixing. I just want to mix it until everything's combined, and that's it. Okay, so we have this ready, and I'm gonna leave that on full time for you. I think it was only like 20, maybe 30 seconds, not very long at all. Let's see, where do I want to stick this? So I already got out the tools that I need. So I have a big old pan, I have a cookie scoop, and I have some spray. We're gonna spray the pan down. Okay, I'm just going to scoop these into about this size. I have to press it in a little bit. That was funny. And then form into a ball. I might just start putting them all down and then form them all into a ball after. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, so I have both hands. So we will just make them cookie scoop sized. All right, we got them all rolled out or pressed out. So now we just need to roll them into balls, and we'll get them in the oven. All right, we got 31 meatballs. I'm going to get these in the oven, and I can't remember if I told you, but the reason that I'm doing the meatballs first is because they have to cook, and I want the oven to be cooking while we're doing the rest of the projects. Okay, next up, we are going to do a traditional meatloaf, and I've always just used the same recipe, and today I want to try a new recipe just because we can. And so I'm going to do half pork and half ground beef, and then we will add our spices in. And something interesting about this one is it does not need an egg, so we won't be putting an egg in. This also calls for onions, and I am going to leave the onions out because I don't really love onions being in meatloaf. Maybe I'll do minced onions. I could deal with minced onions. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, we have our whole slew of spices. So we're gonna start out with like a half a cup of breadcrumbs, and I'm just eyeballing it because there's no need to be exact. And then here's what we've got. Instead of doing diced onions, I am going to do minced onions. I think that'll be better. And then onion powder. So we're adding these two. And then I'm going to do garlic powder instead of a minced garlic. Of course, we always need salt and pepper, so we'll get some salt and pepper in here. And then there are 3 spices that I have never put in a meatloaf before. Ooh, that was a lot of pepper. That's okay. I guess maybe I've put parsley in before, but parsley is one of them. And then dill weed and mustard. And if I'm thinking about this, the recipe that my mom uses is pretty much the same, but it doesn't include these. So my question is, did the recipe originally include these spices and she took them out because she doesn't like them? Or was her recipe just different all along? That is the question. Okay, mix this for just a little bit. While that was mixing, I got out all of the ingredients to make the sauce, which is the exact same sauce that the recipe that I usually use has. So we are going to take about, I'm gonna double the sauce because instead of doing one big meatloaf, I'm gonna do 2 little ones because we just can't eat a whole meatloaf at a time. So I'm gonna do probably about that much. We're just eyeballing. I'm thinking 3/4 of a cup is what I was aiming for. I'm not sure if that's exactly there. And then some Worcestershire, and then brown sugar. So it's about, the ratio is half a cup of tomato ketchup, oh my gosh, I happened to look and I read the outside. Yes, it's tomato ketchup. That's hilarious. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and a tablespoon of Worcestershire. So now I'm gonna do a little bit more than 2 tablespoons because I'm like 1.5 times in the recipe. Okay, might have overdone it a bit, but that's okay. Okay, let's get this mixed, and then I'm going to put it in baggies, and that's how I will keep it separate, because if you put it on the meatloaf now and then freeze it, then it's going to be cooking the entire time we're cooking the meatloaf, and I want to put this on a little bit later in the cooking process. Okay, so we're going to spoon about half of it into each of these. Okay, here's what I have. I've got 2 pans that are disposable, and we just stick these in our air fryer. They fit perfectly. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. You know though, the difference in this recipe is it does include pork, not just ground beef from the one that I'm used to. All right, we're gonna take about half of the mixture. And we're gonna just form them into loaves. This loaf is a little bit dry. It's interesting that it didn't need any liquid to it. I wonder if it'll be dry and hard when we eat it. I don't think that was about half. I'm trying to just press this all together. I don't want to squish it too much because I don't want to make it tough. Okay, those were not even, so we're gonna update this one. Update. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna update the loaf. My eyeballing skills are not on it today. All right, there we have it. They're shaped differently, but that's okay because we won't be cooking them at the same time anyways. Next up is a pineapple meatloaf, and I am going to use the ground pork for this. The recipe said to use ground turkey, and I made something similar to this last year, so I wonder if it'll be the same. I am going to use zucchini pineapple instead of regular pineapple because I have a lot of this, and then we get some vegetables in here as well. So I am going to drain all of the liquid out, and then we will be putting a little bit of the liquid back in, but not all of it. So zucchini pineapple is going in, and then we need some soy sauce. I'm going to use liquid aminos. And some scallions. So I've got some green onions from the garden here. They're frozen, but I think they'll be okay. That could also be famous last words. And then we still need to put the meat in, but it does call for red pepper flakes and no salt or pepper. I think I'm going to leave out the pepper because we just did red pepper flakes, but add some salt. Maybe it was thinking that the soy sauce had a lot of salt, but the cocoa aminos does not. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of this juice, save some out, and add some hoisin sauce. And this is going to be, smells so good. This is going to be the, what do you call that? Well, this is coming slowly. The sauce. Okay, we'll mix this up, and then see, I might need to add a little bit more because it might be too liquidy. I did check on the meatballs in the oven, and they are not quite ready, but they were very close. They were at about 150, and I want to get them to about 160 because that's what Google told me to do. Well, maybe this will be okay. All right, we need to get the meat in here. That's funny that that worked. And we mix it just until combined. All right, I think we are fully incorporated. This one is very much more wet. Did I put, I don't think I put the breadcrumbs in, did I? I don't think so. We're gonna add some in. Did I? I don't. Okay, that's better. Now I love doing projects like this because I'm just reusing the mixer. Ooh, and I don't have to clean it in between each time because it's fine. I did purposefully go in a specific order though, so that way I didn't have like certain flavors overlapping each other. All right, let's get these separated out. And I think the way I'm gonna do it this time is by separating it into here so that way I have the right amounts before I shape them. Something cool about this is you've already got your vegetable in here. So all you really need is like a potato on the side or something. Unless you want another vegetable. Unless you put real pineapple in it. We're gonna need to get those meatballs out of the oven. All right, let's see here. Shape this. Actually, I'm just gonna push this right down in. I think that'll work out just fine. Yep. Perfect. So here's what I'm thinking with the sauce. It says to brush half on top before you start cooking it and then put the rest on later. I think I'm just going to put all of it on now and then freeze it that way because this is so liquidy that I think will be fine. I'll just try to spread it over the whole thing. I think we'll be okay with that. Okay. And perfect timing, our meatballs are done. So I am just going to set them over here and let them cool down. Okay, very interesting. This one has mayonnaise in it. That's so strange to me. So we're gonna just put a couple spoonfuls of mayonnaise in. Whoa, it says 1/4 cup. So I think if I just do This much will be good. And I'm using light mayonnaise because that is the only thing I have. And less calories that way. I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of panko. And this recipe has a panko topping and it has a gravy that goes over the top. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do the panko topping, unless I just write on it, add panko topping, because you're not supposed to like put it on right when you cook. I'm going to add the spices though. We've got 2 teaspoons-ish of minced onion, a little bit of salt and pepper. And then our extras are going to be garlic powder and parsley. Now what makes this one so unique, aside from mayonnaise, is we've got Swiss cheese and we have ham, and we are going to layer this meatloaf. Okay, mix this up and clean some things up while we wait. This is really wet, so I'm going to add another little bit of panko. Okay, so I'm going to get our cheese ready for layering and our ham ready for layering, because I don't want to be touching. It said that we're going to need 6 pieces. We might need more, but I just don't want to be touching the meat and touching the cheese. Okay. And this is our last one. I forgot to look and see what time I started to see if this actually was going to end up being 1 hour. I think my clips are time stamped. Okay, let's see. We'll get about a 1/4 of it into here, about a 1/4 into here. The rest will be for the top. What do we want to do here? I don't think I'm going to fill the whole thing with it this time. Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe we will. Okay, we now need 2 layers of cheese and 2 layers of ham. This is going to use more. That's okay. That is quite okay. Cheese. Cheese. Let's see. I know I'm going to need 2 more cheeses. Let's do ham layer. Try and figure out the best way to get the ham to fit here. I just splashed that on myself. I think I'm going to do a double layer of ham. Okay, and then more cheese. And more ham. I'm just going to use the rest of this ham. Last up is getting the remainder of the chicken mixture. These are going to be full. So the last step after I get these spread out is that this needs a sauce. And so I'm hoping that the sauce freezes well, because that's what I'm going to do. And if it doesn't, we will know for later. But these look great. They look raw, but great. Last up is we need to make the sauce for, or it's more of a gravy for the chicken cordon bleu. So what I'm doing is I'm melting just 3 tablespoons of butter, and then we'll add in 3 tablespoons of flour, make a roux, add some milk, add some spices, call it a day. What we're basically doing is making a flavorful bechamel sauce. So what I'm going to do while that's melting is get all of these little meatballs into a bag, and I think probably could just get them all in one bag. You could flash freeze them. Yeah, I'm just gonna use one bag. Flash freezing is probably the way to go, but I will just spread them out. Do we want to do one bag? How many do we have here? That's 15, 16. Well, that's half. Maybe I'll just do half like I was planning. I probably could have used a smaller bag. I also was able to just get all of the dishes put into the dishwasher. And so that's fantastic. I'm very happy that that is done. I haven't started the dishwasher yet because I didn't want you guys to be able to hear the dishwasher in the background. And that butter is almost melted. Okay, we will add in our flour and mix it up. And we want to cook this until that raw flour taste is all cooked out, which won't take long. Okay, now we'll add a cup of milk while whisking. Just gonna squeeze that all in. And as this heats up, this will thicken. And then we'll add, let's add now some Worcestershire. We also need some Dijon, salt and pepper. And then the special ingredient today is nutmeg, and I don't have fresh to grind, so we're just using this. And then we need to get to mixing just a little bit goes a long way. Okay. And I am using a silicone coated whisk. I got a new one because my old one, the silicone coating was coming off, and I was getting worried that I was going to ruin my pan. And my pans are new. So that came together super quickly. Look at that. That is a beautiful gravy. So we need to let this gravy cool off before I can package it. Probably should have done this a little sooner, but I think we're gonna call that good. But let's give it a taste. That's good. That over that with the crunch, that's gonna be delicious. That's gonna be so good. Give this a little bit more of a mix. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I looked at the time and it has been an hour and 15 minutes since I started, and that included having to grind the meat ourselves and putting all of the dishes away and filming, which does add a little bit to the time because I'm just talking instead of doing. So all in all, I think this could easily be done in just 1 hour, and we have 8 freezer meals for our family. So this is so fantastic. I am very happy that we finally have some food going back into our freezer. If you saw our pantry tour, I am trying to use up everything in the outside freezer and replenish with new. And so I'm excited. So we have our traditional meatloaf, our pineapple, like Asian style meatloaf, our chicken cordon bleu meatloaf, which is very interesting. I'm excited to try. And then our 2 pounds of meatballs. So this was a great day. Now, last year I did do something similar where I did some meatloaves and different meals that were all pretty quick. So if you're interested in seeing that, I will link it here. And if you're interested in some other freezer meals, because those are the best, I will link more here. Whoa. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you were here to enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. If not, I'm so sorry. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.